Revealed, the sinister list of 12 rules I discovered to survive the haunted oil field in Montana. The whispers spread through the small town like wildfire. They called it the haunted oil field, a vast, eerie expanse where shadows danced among rusting pipes and forgotten debris. Many said you could hear the groans of those who never returned. Jenna, a single mother of 2, felt a creeping unease grow as she worked her late shifts at the diner, fueled by gossip and folklore. The stories chilled her bones, yet each day she put them aside, focusing on her kids, Ethan and Lily. She had to. One stormy evening, pressed for time, she took a shortcut through that terrifying field. The sky crackled with electricity, the air tasted metallic, and a sense of dread clung to her like a shroud. Pushing open the creaky door of a dilapidated shack, Jenna was struck by an unsettling chill. Dust particles floated like tiny ghosts in the dim light. Her heart raced when she spotted a faded piece of paper stuffed into a corner, the 12 rules to survive. Each rule seemed to scream from the page, warning her of dangers lurking in the dark. Rule number 1 sent icy tendrils down her spine: never venture alone at night, especially near the oil field. Just stories, she muttered, folding it and cramming it into her pocket. But the tension remained, clawing at her sanity. As the storm raged outside, Jenna's mind spiraled. Nightmares flickered through her sleep, shadowy figures moving among the pipelines, their whispers echoing warnings of lost souls trapped in darkness. She jolted awake, gasping for breath. The following day, chaos enveloped her. Ethan didn't return from exploring with his friends. Panic gripped her heart like a vice. She dashed through the neighborhood, voice frantic as she questioned neighbors. Their dismissive shrugs chilled her further, heavy with the dreaded lore of the haunted field. When she sought help from local authorities, their eyes darted nervously. They told her calmly to stay calm, yet their unease belied their words. Jenna's anxiety surged as she reread the rules. They felt like no silly superstitions now, each warning unfolded darker truths. One rule spoke of a figure that haunted children, an entity cloaked in shadow, ever watchful. A cold sweat dripped down her back as she remembered Lily's innocent stories, tales of a friend who played under the sun. Days turned into tormented searches, each conversation revealing layers of chilling history entwined with the oil field's curse. Jenna's trust in her neighbors shattered, replaced by a frigid realization: the curse was more alive and personal than she had ever dared to consider. As the horror deepened with every desperate lead that went nowhere, she clutched the list tightly, feeling it vibrate with urgency against her thigh. Just as the world seemed to close in on her, a notification pinged on her phone. It was a message from Ethan's friend, a photo attached. Jenna's heart stopped. There he was, Ethan, in the oil field, grinning innocently. But just behind him loomed that ominous shadow, an unmistakable figure wearing a knowing smile. Ice gripped her heart. Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Jenna's breath quickened, desperation rising in her throat. Fear evolved into a visceral urge to protect Lily. Was that figure Ethan's friend? Time was not on her side. With each second, doubts gnawed at her mind. She had to get to the oil field now, but every rule warned against it. Every instinct screamed not to trust those who whispered folklore and nightmares. Gripping the list tightly, she felt an undeniable pull toward the darkness, knowing she had to face the shadows because if she didn't, would she be able to save her son before the hauntings claimed another? Jenna's pulse thundered in her ears as she raced toward the oil field, the tall grass whipping against her legs like hands trying to hold her back. Each step felt like a betrayal against the warnings of that cursed list. Shadows elongated across her path, the light dwindling with the sinking sun, as if warning her to turn back. But there was no turning back now. Not with Ethan out there, trapped in that dreadful place. She pushed through the thick brush, each rustle sounding like a whisper, secrets echoing in the twilight. The air turned colder, every breath sharp as icicles. Jenna clutched the list, its paper crumpling under the fierce grip of her panicked fingers. Rule after rule clawed at the edges of her mind, but one in particular slammed against her skull: do not call for those who are lost, they may not be as you remember. Ethan. She called, voice cracking. It echoed, swallowed by the evening mist. She stopped. Silence. The hair on the back of her neck bristled. There it was, the slightest shift between the rusting pipelines up ahead. A figure? No. Just shadows. Her breath fogged in front of her as she squinted into the encroaching dark. The wind howled, carrying the scent of oil and something else, something rancid. Jenna pressed on, heart diving deeper with each tentative step. Her phone's screen lit up for a moment, a beacon that threw shadows longer than she expected. She could be called for help. Alerted someone. But who would come to the haunted oil field? Ethan. The word felt like a sacrilege. The ground beneath her crunched as she neared the center of the field, where the shadows seemed to coalesce. The old machinery loomed over her, blackened teeth of steel jaws yawning open, longing for something. Her throat constricted. Mom. Her heart stopped. The sound, though weak and distant, was unmistakable. Jenna took off like a bolt of lightning, fueled by sheer terror and the burning hope of meeting her son. Ethan. She yelled again, plunging deeper into the maze of pipes and derelict equipment. The shadows whispered around her, a cacophony of voices swirling just out of reach. Yes, ours, they hissed, twisting the air. Panic drove her forward, but the pressure constricted her chest. Each shadow seemed to shift, morphing into figures, faces she almost recognized but couldn't grasp. Then, she saw him. Ethan stood near an old pumping unit, his form silhouetted against the fading light. He looked unscathed, yet something was off. The smile on his face didn't match the panic in her heart. Ethan. What are you doing here? He turned slowly, eyes glassy. I found a friend. The world shifted as she felt the ground tremble. The air thickened around her, swirling with dense dread. What do you mean? We need to go. And then she saw it, the shadow behind him, no longer obscured by distance. It was tall, cloaked in darkness, its smile too wide, simply wrong. It loomed over Ethan, reaching out with elongated fingers. No. Jenna dashed forward, adrenaline fueling her as she ripped Ethan from the clutches of the shadow. For a moment, everything was still. Then the entity's voice slithered around them, a whisper that sent chills down her spine. You shouldn't have come here. Jenna, holding Ethan's hand tightly, felt something cold wrap around her ankle. Panic surged. They were trapped. Run! She screamed, and they sprinted, shadows clawing at their heels as they fled past the pipes and rusted fragments of past nightmares. The entity's laughter echoed behind them, deep and resonant. Every step was a battle against the rising panic, her breath burning in her lungs. Would it follow them to the edge of the field? Would her son be lost forever? As they burst into the clearing, the specter of the oil field still loomed behind them, waiting, watching, and in the distance, a new sound emerged, soft yet menacing, a siren's wail piercing the night. What could that mean? They had escaped, but at what cost? Desperation clung to her like a second skin. They were not safe yet, not while the shadows lurked close. What other secrets were buried in that haunted field? The siren's wail cut through the darkness, sharp and chilling, a pinprick of terror in a night already thick with dread. Jenna's heart raced as she pulled Ethan closer, instinctively shielding him behind her. The sound seemed to awaken the shadows, which lurked at the edges of the clearing, writhing like dark smoke, poised and eager to consume them once more. What is that? Ethan's voice trembled, mingling fear and curiosity. I don't know, Jenna whispered, her eyes darting around the clearing, searching for an escape. But we need to get away now. They took off, feet pounding against the uneven ground, racing toward the fading light of the open field. Every crunch beneath her boots echoed like thunder in the stillness. Each step felt heavy, as if the earth itself was conspiring against them, pulling her down with invisible fingers. The siren blared again, closer this time, and Jenna glanced back. The dark figure was no longer just a shadow, it moved in jerky motions, as if the air itself recoiled from its presence. Fear twisted in her gut. It glided, easily keeping pace, a horrific smile spreading across its indistinct face. It was chasing them. "Mom! I can't," Ethan gasped, struggling to keep up. "Just keep running," she urged, her voice strained. "We're almost to the edge." As they neared the tree line, the siren's sound blared again, now a mechanical howl that cut through the air. It felt unnatural, ominous. In an instant, Jenna realized it wasn't just a siren. It was a warning. Something was coming, and it wasn't just the shadow. A flash of headlight stabbed the night as a truck rounded a bend, cutting through the dark like a blade. Jenna's pulse quickened with hope. She raised her hand to signal. "Help! Over here!" But the truck didn't stop. Its headlights swept across her, illuminating the twisted trees, but it rolled on, the driver oblivious to their plight. Panic surged again, hot and sickening. The entity's laughter echoed, weaving through the siren's wail as if taunting her. "You'll never escape." The laughter reverberated in her bones, and she felt a weight settle in her chest. Jenna looked around frantically. The trees loomed ahead, but the ground vibrated beneath her. The shadows, they were everywhere, creeping closer. "Ethan, we need to hide now." She grabbed his hand and darted into the cover of the trees, brushing against rough bark as she pushed deeper into the woods. Thick branches beckoned, weaving a curtain of darkness around them. Inside, the world changed, silent save for their harsh breaths, shadows merging into an impenetrable void. "Are they gone?" Ethan whispered, trembling beside her. "I don't know." Jenna could hear her heart thrumming, a drum of dread. But then the air shifted, a cold draft unlike any she felt before, creeping along her neck like icy fingers. Out of breath, she turned to him. "Ethan, are you okay?" He nodded, but his face was pale, glistening with sweat. A rustle behind them made her spine stiffen. Jenna held her breath, straining to hear. The nocturnal stillness amplified the sound, a low, guttural breath that echoed through the trees. "Mom," Ethan whimpered. The fear in his eyes sent a chill through her veins. Something was coming, not just the shadow. The air thickened as the darkness deepened, pooling like a living thing. Jenna backed up, instinctively putting herself between Ethan and the source of the noise. "Stay close to me." The whispering returned, faint but growing louder, words indistinct but laced with hunger. "Get ready to run, Ethan. Whatever it is, we need to move now." In the distance, the siren wailed again, but now it was joined by another sound, a chorus of voices rising in a sinister crescendo, slicing through the night like a knife. Join us, join us." Jenna's blood ran cold. They were being called, and every fiber of her being screamed to resist. "They want you," Jenna realized, gripping Ethan's arm tighter. Was it just shadows? Or was it something far darker seeking to reclaim its lost? They stood frozen, hearts racing as whispers closed in. What did they want? And how many more secrets would the haunted oil field try to reveal before the night ended? The whispers wrapped around Jenna and Ethan like a suffocating shroud. Each word blurred with dread, merging into an unsettling symphony that reverberated through the trees. Join us, join us." The ground beneath them felt alive, a pulse growing stronger, vibrating in sync with the haunting call. "Mom, we have to go." Ethan's voice broke through the haze of terror. Jenna shook her head hard, fighting the pull of those voices, the chilling promise of familiarity they offered. "No. We stay here. We can't let them." A sudden rustle erupted from the thicket behind them. It was too close, and this time it wasn't just the shadows. Jenna's instinct screamed. She spun around, wide-eyed, scanning the oppressive darkness. then they appeared, figures each one twisted, their forms barely human, emerged like grotesque marionettes breaking free from their strings. Their eyes were hollow pits, glinting with malevolence as they moved, swaying unnaturally. Jenna stumbled back, dragging Ethan with her. "Run!" she shouted, pushing him ahead as she pivoted. The oil field had been a mere trickle of fear before this, but now it engulfed them whole. The creatures whispered again, a lugubrious harmony calling Ethan's name. "Join us, little one, Mom." He hesitated, eyes darting to hers in a pleading look. Their bond, a bridge of safety, was about to snap under the pressure of things beyond comprehension. "Ethan, don't listen. Keep moving." She urged forward, adrenaline surging as she took off deeper into the woods. Branches clawed at them, sharp as knives, nearly ripping through her clothing. Jenna's heart pounded louder than the whispering, a frantic cacophony that drove them forward, but the darkness seemed endless, framing their escape in futility. "Where do we go?" Ethan gasped, breathless. "Anywhere but here." She shouted back, her own voice thin with panic. As they raced, the siren wailed once more, the painful shriek mingling with the creatures' voices until it became a singular nightmare, echoing through the trees. Each step felt heavier. With every turn, the shadows followed, relentless and cunning. They stumbled onto a clearing, a small church, old and decrepit, its windows shattered. A sign creaked ominously in the wind, "Gather for salvation." Jenna's eyes widened. She pushed Ethan to the door, hoping against hope. The rest was filled with swirling dust and memories as the heavy door groaned, reluctantly giving way. Inside was dark, stale air pressing in on them like the weight of 1,000 unseen eyes. Ethan's voice trembled as they stepped into the sanctuary. Before Jenna could answer, a screech pierced the silence, then silence decimated by the laughter of the creatures outside. Shadows danced at the edges of her vision, teasing and threatening. "Stay close," she whispered, glancing around the suffocating space. Faded benches lined the room, and a pulpit loomed before them, the only thing untouched by the passage of time, but something was off. Underneath the dust, Jenna saw remnants of old newspapers flutter. She stepped closer. It was a list, torn, aged, but legible, the rules to survive the haunting. A chill snaked down her spine. Were those stories true? Had someone else faced this terror? And if so, what had they learned? The door rattled violently as if the creatures were desperate to gain entry. Jenna's breath quickened, heart racing anew. One flick of the light revealed a series of names scrawled at the bottom, dates lined up in a chilling hierarchy, all too familiar. "We have to go." Ethan continued, pulling her away from the pulpit. "No. Wait." Jenna's fingers gripped the paper. Their names could be on this list, but there was no time to read, to find the meaning behind it. The door burst open, and a wave of shadows rushed in, filling the room as the creatures poured towards them, beckoning with outstretched hands. They were no longer whispers, they were a force, tangible and powerful. "Join us," they hissed, the words melting together into an awful chant. Jenna flung the remnants of the paper into the air, and it spiraled around them like falling leaves. A desperate hope turned to dust. She grabbed Ethan. "We fight. We don't give up." But in the midst of chaos, the last glimmer of the list caught her eye. One last phrase loomed large, just out of reach before the darkness swallowed her whole. They would need to confront whatever was lurking outside the church. Yet the truth felt heavy, looming. What did the list mean for their fate? Would the secrets of survival seal their doom instead? The air crackled with a tension that pressed down like a weight. Shadows flickered, closing in, their fingers clawing at the remnants of hope as Jenna and Ethan stood frozen, the sanctuary around them warping with foreboding. "Mom," Ethan's voice trembled, small and fragile. "What if no? We don't have time for what-ifs." Jenna snapped, fear sharpening her voice. She shoved the back of her hand across her brow, wiping sweat mixed with dirt. "We need to fight." The walls of the church groaned, almost as if resonating with the chilling call of the creatures outside. The whispers intensified, drawing nearer, each syllable pregnant with darkness. Join us, each repetition pulsed through the floorboards, vibrating beneath Jenna's feet, a heartbeat synchronized with dread. Ethan pressed closer, his fingers grasping her arm. She felt him trembling, and it sent a jolt of fear through her. The creatures were coming in, but from which way? The heavy wooden door that had creaked in protest now stood ajar, swinging like a sick joke, inviting horrors in. Look! Ethan pointed toward the pulpit. The remnants of that cursed list whispered secrets to her. Maybe there's something there. Instructions. Jenna's brain raced. The notion felt like a lifeline, but what if it was just another trap? Yet, with no other options, desperation surged. Okay, but hurry. As she darted toward the pulpit, the air thickened around her, heavy with dread. She reached the tattered list, her fingers trembling as they brushed against the uneven paper. The words danced before her like a mirage, but one phrase jolted her stomach. Trust no one. Bile crept into her throat, a bitter reminder that their only ally in this overwhelming abyss was each other. The reality of paranoia painted every corner of the room. She tore her gaze from the paper and caught sight of the shadows writhing and swirling, a dark ocean of malicious intent outside the door. Ethan! Here! She called, her heart hammering as he rushed to her side. Read it. Maybe it can help us, he panted, wide-eyed. One by one, she scanned the fading letters, each word sending chills dancing down her spine. Number 1, never show fear. I'm scared, Ethan muttered, looking down. Me too. Jenna took a moment to breathe and steadied herself. But we can't let them see that. 2, don't engage. What does that mean? He asked, teeth chattering, as the door cracked open wider. Probably that we should ignore them, she said, glancing at the malevolent figures now spilling into the chapel. Their grinning faces twisted with malice. 3, if they try to take you, run. They won't take you. The creatures surged forward, the air rippling with their chilling energy. Jenna barely caught the next rule. 4, the darkness, it feeds on conflict. What does that even mean? Ethan shouted, fear cracking his voice. I don't know. She shot back, her composure fracturing. But we need to get out and find a way to break their hold. What if we can't? Her heart sank, but she forced herself to stay strong. We will. We have to figure out how all of this ties together in the end. The whispers crescendoed, drowning out reason. It was too much too fast. The creatures closed in, and Jenna felt terror crush her ribs. They were hungry, and with every moment, the air thickened with despair. Just as the first figure lunged, a piercing scream erupted from underneath the pulpit, causing Ethan to jump back. The floorboards erupted, revealing an unexpected darkness, a trapdoor, gaping wide open. Mom! Ethan shrieked, barely holding his ground. What do we do? Jenna knew the answer lay in that terrifying abyss. Perhaps it was their only escape. Yet whether they would emerge unscathed remained an unanswered question. In that moment, the creatures lunged again, and time bent beneath the weight of their proximity. Jump! Jenna screamed, grabbing Ethan's hand as they plunged into the blackness below, uncertain of what awaited them in the darkness. What new horrors would the shadows reveal? The darkness enveloped them, thick and suffocating. Jenna felt Ethan's hand tremble in hers as they fell into the abyss. They landed with a thud, the damp earth giving way beneath them. The air felt colder, heavier, and a whisper of something sinister swirled around them like a restless spirit. Mom! Ethan's voice quivered in the pitch black. Are we safe? Jenna's heart raced. I don't know, she whispered, scanning the void, the whispers still echoing in her mind. They had escaped the creatures, but that didn't mean they were free. Stay close. Cries of agony and whispers of despair echoed in the distance, a sickly chorus that seemed to draw nearer. A faint glimmer caught her eye. There was a line of light somewhere ahead, flickering and teasing. She pulled Ethan by the hand, moving cautiously, every step echoing ominously in the hollow darkness. "What if it's a trap?" Ethan murmured, his voice cracking with fear. "We have to take the risk," Jenna replied, urgency flashing in her tone. The thought of being trapped here, forever shackled to the horrors they just fled, ignited a pit of dread inside her. "We can't go back." As they moved deeper into the dark space, Jenna felt the walls closing in. The stone was slick, pressing tightly against her, reminiscent of the creatures outside, hungry and waiting. She stole a glance over her shoulder, half expecting to see twisted faces peering at them from within the shadows. But the only response was the oppressive silence that followed them like a haunting specter. The light flickered again, and as they approached, it revealed the contours of an ancient wooden door, rusty bolts holding it shut. Jenna's breath hitched, her gut churned with the weight of an unnameable fear. "Mom, what if they're waiting on the other side?" Ethan said, his voice barely above a whisper. "Then we'll have to be ready," she forced out, though her own dread clawed at her insides. Taking a deep breath, she pushed against the door, and it creaked open, revealing a small chamber illuminated by candles that lined the stone walls, their flames flickering like desperate souls. "Look!" Ethan pointed. A table stood in the center, cluttered with items that sent a chill racing down Jenna's spine, jars filled with unknown contents, tools that shimmered ominously, and she gasped a mirror, covered in a thick layer of dust. "Don't touch anything," she warned, her eyes darting across the eerie display. The atmosphere was thick with foreboding, but something a twinge of hope, perhaps urged her forward. She approached the mirror, brushing aside the dust with trembling fingers. The glass sparkled briefly, revealing not her reflection, but a swirling image. Jenna leaned in closer as a new phrase echoed in her mind. "You're not alone." Suddenly the room shifted. The shadows began to pulse around them, slithering toward the mirror like moths to flame. Jenna felt a cold draft, a sharp tang of dread filling the air. She stumbled back, eyes wide, as the whispers intensified, drowning her thoughts. "Mom! What's happening?" "I don't know." She felt the walls vibrating, as though the very space was alive, angry at their intrusion. The shadows ignited, forming silhouettes. Dark figures flickered within the light, their eyes a haunting blaze that locked onto her. "Forget this place. We have to run." Jenna shouted, urgency coursing through her veins as she grabbed Ethan's wrist, pulling him toward the door. But they weren't fast enough. A scream erupted from the mirror, a cry that cut through their bones. Time froze as echoing laughter filled the chamber, wrapping around them, pulling them back. Shadows lashed out like tendrils of darkness, reaching for them as they dashed toward the door. Just as they reached it, darkness consumed the room in one swift motion. The candlelight vanished, plunging them into a suffocating black. And then, just beyond the weight of the void, there was a voice so low, so cold, it sent shivers down Jenna's spine. "Join us." Jenna squeezed her eyes shut, holding Ethan close. "We have to get out. Now." With a deafening crash, the door slammed shut, sealing their fate. As Jenna felt the oppressive darkness close in, panic swelled in her chest. The shadows lunged again, eager to pull them into the depths. But amidst the chaos, a new thought struck her. What if the rules weren't just guidelines, but the very key to survival? "What do we do?" Ethan screamed, tears streaming down his face. Jenna took a deep breath, fighting the paralysis of fear. "We need to face them. We need to remember the list." Silence followed her words, a pregnant pause as the shapes around them twitched and pulsed with anticipation. "We must trust each other, Ethan. We can't let them break us." In that haunting darkness, shadows danced with an energy of desperation. And just when hope seemed utterly lost, Jenna caught the faintest hum within the void, something ancient and powerful, resonating through her very soul, awakening an unknown strength. "Hold on," she urged, raising her voice above the chaos. But the laughter grew louder, drowning her words as the shadows began to close in. What price would they have to pay to escape the abyss lurking in the dark? The darkness thickened around them, a suffocating embrace that seemed alive with malevolence. Jenna felt Ethan's grip tighten, his fingers trembling, echoing the shivers racing down her spine. The laughter enveloped them, wrapping their minds in terror, and then, in the chaos, it hit her. The 12 rules they had stumbled upon earlier. They were not just guidelines, they were lifelines. Ethan, focus. We have to remember what we learned. She shouted, but her voice felt thin, almost swallowed by the shadows. Which rule? He gasped, panic-stricken. The first one: don't enter a place that feels wrong. But that rule felt like a blur now, a whisper lost in the chaos. The shadows warped and twisted, writhing with hostility. Jenna could almost hear their taunts, each mocking laugh a blade slicing through her resolve, and then a distant echo broke through the fear, a word. No. It resonated like a bell. She glanced at Ethan, whose face mirrored her terror. It knows. It wants to claim us. A flicker of light pierced through the encroaching doom. It was small but fierce, illuminating the grotesque forms of shadows that clawed at them. Jenna pulled Ethan closer. We need to fight to confront what's coming. But how? Ethan cried, searching her eyes for answers. Trust in the list. Remember the second rule, resist the pull. The dark laughter startled her, an unholy symphony that grew louder, more deafening. Shadows lunged at them, effortlessly gliding across the room's surface. Jenna squeezed her eyes shut, holding Ethan firmly, grounding herself against the chaos swirling around them. Resist. We want to let you take us. She yelled, feeling the energy around them shift. The darkness recoiled slightly, as if her courage had struck a chord. But it was only for a moment. The voice echoed again, chilling her to the bone. You can't hold on forever. Jenna opened her eyes, struggling against the paralyzing fear. Look. The mirror. It flickered with a strange light. Beneath the layers of dust, she could see shapes moving, faces trapped in their own torment. Desperate eyes stared back at her, pleading for release. Mom. Ethan whimpered, fresh tears streaming down his cheeks. They're all they can't escape. She felt the weight of his fear pressing down on her, but she could not allow it to consume them. Not yet. We can break the cycle. Which rule is that? He begged, voice trembling. The 10th rule. You must acknowledge the burden. Remembering the scattered notes from their earlier discoveries sparked something inside her. What does that mean? It means we have to accept what we're facing. Jenna declared, her voice firming, pulling strength from the flickering light. We need to own our fear before it owns us. Mom, can we even do that? She hesitated, her heart racing in her chest. But the shadows were closing in, furious and raging against their defiance. Yes, we can. Tell me your fears, Ethan, now. I'm scared of losing you. The admission hung heavy in the air, mixing with the laughter around them. Something shifted in the void, an unseen force recoiled at the raw honesty of his words. Say it louder. She urged. We have to amplify it. I'm scared of losing you. I'm scared of this darkness. Ethan shouted, his voice lifting against the chaos, fierce with determination. The laughter faltered, a crack forming in the darkness, but it was only the beginning. The voices writhed, angry and wounded, but they hadn't broken yet. I'm scared of what's in there. Jenna shouted, motioning towards the mirror. But I will face it together. As if answering her declaration, the mirror pulsed with an energy that shifted the air around them. The moment felt suspended, as if the universe leaned closer, waiting. Would the shadows relent? Or would they take everything from them, trapping them within this nightmarish realm forever? The whispers began to rise again, louder, drowning her resolve. And then, out of the chaos, a single phrase emerged from the darkness, echoing through her mind. You cannot escape the rules. With each word, a surge of fear paralyzed her. She could almost feel the dread wrapping itself tighter, as she fought against the tide once more. But she sensed something else, something she had missed. Then a chilling thought invaded her mind. What if the rules were not just meant to be followed, but to be broken? Ethan. She gasped. What if they need to be rewritten? The shadows quivered, caught off guard. What would that mean? As the echo of her question hung heavy, the presence around them swelled again, furious and vengeful. They were not done fighting yet. The mirror glimmered, its surface rippling like disturbed water. Jenna felt a rush of adrenaline, desperation clawed at her throat. We need to rewrite the rules, Ethan. We can't just sit here waiting to be consumed. Think. What if we change what they mean? Ethan blinked back tears, his eyes darting between the shifting shadows and the haunted faces trapped in the mirror. But how? How do we rewrite them? Let us start by flipping the first rule. Instead of avoiding a place that feels wrong, we need to understand why it feels that way. We have to confront it. Her voice cracked, but it held a flicker of hope. The laughter around them stuttered, uncertainty rippling through the dark. Jenna's heart raced as she caught a glimpse of movement in the mirror, a face pressed against the glass, mouth open in a silent scream. The air turned colder, a breath of frost brushing against her skin. Do you feel that, Ethan? It's weakening. She urged, gripping his shoulders. Help me. Let us push back. Together, they turned to the mirror, their shared fears merging, creating a storm of energy. We're not running anymore. Jenna shouted, her body electric with exhilaration. We choose to face this darkness. The shadows recoiled, the laughter twisting into a cacophony of confusion. No. A voice screeched, sharper than ice. Do you hear them? Ethan gasped, fear battling curiosity. They don't want us to rewrite the rules. That's exactly why we have to. Jenna felt emboldened. Let us go deeper. What's the third rule? It was about trusting your instincts. Then let us trust them. Ethan cried. I can almost see where it wants to take us, and it's terrifying. But it doesn't control us. Jenna shouted back, her voice nearly swallowed by the shadows writhing closer. It's our instincts that will guide us through this. The moment her words hung in the air, something monumental shifted. A rumble surged from the darkness, reverberating against the walls, twisting the mirror's shimmer into a sinister glow. The trapped faces began to scream, their mouths forming words of pleading and terror. What are they saying? Ethan's voice trembled. I think Jenna's breath hitched. I think they're warning us. They're telling us not all rules must be followed. Suddenly, a hard pull yanked at Jenna's spirit, as if the void was fighting back against their rebellion. We need to counter it. Let us throw ourselves into the pain. What's the fourth rule? Ethan stuttered, his eyes glazed with fear. Face your guilt. But I don't want to do it anyway. She snapped, panic threading through her. We can't just let our guilt consume us as they did. Ethan's breath quickened. I feel guilty for being scared. For dragging you into this. Yes. And now shout it. She yelled. Our fears are not burdens, they are truths. It's what keeps us human. I'm scared. He shouted, voice rising above the darkness. I feel guilty for wanting to flee. I wish I could go back. The shadow creature wailed, as if Ethan's words struck it at its core. The mirror shook violently, the glass quivering behind the horrifying faces now turning to ash. The fifth rule. Jenna yelled, hastily piecing her thoughts together. Don't run from the pain. We need to own it. I'm terrified of losing you too, Ethan. A torrent of energy erupted from her chest, her heart pounding as if every beat echoed her fears into the void. The laughter turned to angry screams, but a light began to break through the chaos, flickering like a dying star. What's happening? Ethan's voice cracked, fear entwined with hope. The rules are breaking. Jenna shouted. They can't hold us anymore. We're rewriting our fight. With each truth they unleashed, layers of shadows peeled away, as if the darkness couldn't withstand their defiance. But as they stood, the air heavy with revelations, a whisper slid back through the darkness. You shouldn't have done that. A cold grip seized Jenna's heart. What had they awakened? The shadows howled in rage, swelling chaotically as the light fought to seep through. The mirror erupted, fragments of glass flying like daggers around them. Jenna and Ethan braced themselves as the room trembled. The battle was far from over. Together, remember. She called out, feeling both terror and determination pulse through her veins. Whatever comes next, we stand united. What loomed beyond that fractured glass? Were they truly escaping the nightmare, or merely awakening something even more sinister? The shadows roared once more, and with it came a new question: had they crossed a line that could never be uncrossed? The air felt thick, dragging at Jenna and Ethan like invisible hands. As the last shards of glass rained to the ground, a low growl reverberated from the darkness, a sound that crawled beneath their skin. Jenna, what is that? Ethan's whispered question trembled like a leaf in a storm, and Jenna felt it too, the deep gnawing dread gnawing at her resolve. Just stay close. We did this. We're in control. She wrapped her fingers around his wrist, squeezing tightly, though her own heart thudded like a war drum. The ground beneath them shifted, groaning like an old man eager to share secrets. Jenna squinted into the dark void where their reflections had shattered, a new energy swirling in its place, instinct telling her something primal and ancient was awakening. Can you feel that? She asked, her voice barely above a whisper. The shadows answered instead, swirling around them with a life of their own. They flickered, and within their depths, Jenna could make out grotesque shapes, contorted figures that seemed to crawl upwards from the ground. Horrified, she could see faces, familiar and yet twisted, as if the darkness was pulling forth memories and fears they had yet to confront. Ethan recoiled, almost pulling away. We have to go. He cried. This is too much. No. Jenna snapped back, fear turning to fierce resolve. We can't give in. We beat them once. We can do it again. Once? He spat. You saw what almost happened. What if it wants to use us against each other? But before Jenna could respond, a shrill cry erupted from the shadows, the faces moving with desperate intent. Join us. They wailed, the sound piercing through her soul. It's futile to rebel. The rules were crafted for your protection. Shut up. Ethan yelled, winded as he pressed a hand to his head. Stop talking. The darkness twisted, its anger palpable as it writhed like a tempest. The air vibrated with energy, shifting between primal fear and something less tangible, a nagging absence of hope. Jenna knew they needed to remain grounded. Remember the last rule, she said through clenched teeth, trying to block out the cacophony. Face what you fear. This could be our chance to see what we're up against. Face what? Ethan cried. Those faces. Those memories. They'll destroy us. We can't let them. Jenna's heart raced. Get ready. Focus on what you see. Slowly, she began to advance into the darkness, dragging Ethan along, each hesitant step defying the instinct to flee. Shapes writhed closer, reaching for them with skeletal fingers. The faces swam into focus, lost souls, some deformed, others tear-stained. The pleading in their eyes felt almost real, but at their core was a malignant force, desperate for companionship in the darkness. Please don't leave us. One voice trembled, a woman's, barely recognizable. Stop. Jenna shouted. You're not real, you're just memories trying to lure us in. Join us. The figures cried in unison again, their voices melding into a chorus of anguish. We are you. You cannot escape. Jenna stumbled back, a wave of nausea hitting her as the memories rushed in, drowning her in darkness, her own mistakes, her lost loved ones, her forever guilt. Ethan. She gasped, fighting the madness. Don't listen. They're lying. I can't. His voice cracked, and she saw his facade of control begin to shatter. Panic rushed through her. They were losing ground. Fight it. Jenna yelled, desperation clawing at her throat. This is a test. It wants us to give in. Use your fear against it. His eyes met hers, raw and wild, a flicker of resolve igniting again. I'm scared, Jenna, I'm scared of everything I've done. Then use it. She urged. I'm terrified too. We're facing it together. Drawing on their shared fears, they screamed their pain into the void, and the darkness shuddered its hold, mustering against their will. The shadows twisted, retreating as horrendous cries rose up, a chaotic chorus of tormented souls. Suddenly, the ground lurched, knocking them off balance. Out of the roiling darkness, a figure emerged. Towering and shadowy, cloaked in whispers, it beckoned to them with long, claw-like hands. No. Jenna screamed, a fresh wave of terror coursing through her. This was not the end, but the beginning of a darker chapter. Ethan. She shouted frantically, but the shadows seemed to thicken around them, each second dragging them deeper into the darkness. What had they called forth? And could they survive the encounter with this new horror? The figure loomed closer, its voice emerging from the depths of night, deep and resonant. You know not what you face, but you will soon. As the entity advanced, Jenna trembled, unsure if they had only begun to unravel their fate or if they had simply awakened a nightmare. Their greatest battle was ahead, and it loomed darker than any shadow they had faced before. Would they have the strength to confront it, or would the darkness swallow them whole? Jenna's heart thundered in her chest as the figure loomed closer, its shape obscured by swirling shadows. The air felt electric, charged with a promise of pain and despair that threatened to suffocate her. This darkness was unlike anything she had encountered, a being forged from her deepest fears. Ethan, listen to me. She shouted, desperate for his focus. We need to stand together. We can't let it separate us. Ethan nodded, his face pale but determined. I'm here, Mom. I won't let it take us. The entity chuckled, a sound that reverberated through the shadows, mocking their resolve. You think you can resist me? This darkness is your creation, your guilt personified. All that you fear is already within you. Jenna felt a shudder pass through her. For a moment, doubt crept in. Was this creature right? Had her fears truly given it strength? She remembered the rules, feeling the weight of their wisdom. Not showing fear. Facing it together. Owning their pain. Ethan, remember our fears, she urged. You're scared of losing me. I'm scared of losing you too. But we use those fears to fuel us. Together. With a fierce cry, Jenna stepped forward, trusting her instincts. I'm not afraid of you. She shouted, raising her chin defiantly. You can't control us. The entity hesitated, its shadow flickering in response to her challenge. Encouraged, Jenna pressed on. You're just a manifestation of our struggles. You may loom large, but you're nothing without our consent. Ethan joined in, his voice rising in strength. We won't let you dictate our lives. We're here, and we choose to fight. The being recoiled, the shadows around it twisting violently as if in pain. Jenna felt a surge of power, they were striking a chord, chipping away at the darkness. Join us. The whispers escalated, desperation lacing their tone. But with each word they shouted, Jenna felt the warmth of unity spark between her and Ethan. Their bond surged like lightning, igniting a wave of certainty. Let's create a new rule. Jenna urged, heart racing. Instead of succumbing to darkness, let us illuminate the truth with our light. The creature wailed, its howl echoing through the chamber, the shadows convulsing around it. Then, against the tide of despair, Jenna and Ethan focused their energy, imagining a light bursting forth from their hearts, a beacon cutting through the enveloping black, with a tremendous roar, they unleashed their vivid memories, the laughter they shared, the warmth of their love, the joy of their days spent together. Light poured from their souls, illuminating fractured reflections trapped in the mirror, shattering barriers between them, glass splintered, shards glowing brightly as laughter and hope breached the darkness. Jenna closed her eyes, letting the warmth of their resolve spiral through her body, burning away the shadow's icy grip. The being recoiled, and with one final pulse of light, Jenna shouted, "We are not our fears. We are who we choose to be." The shadows surged violently, enveloping the figure in an explosion of light. Ethereal cries echoed, mixing with a final, resonant scream that disintegrated into nothingness. Panting, Jenna and Ethan clung to each other, waiting for the chaos to resolve. Slowly, the shadows dissolved, and the weight lifted from their hearts. The dim chamber, once filled with dread, began to shimmer with soft, warm light. "We did it." Ethan's voice trembled in disbelief, eyes wide with wonder. Jenna smiled through tears, warm rays washing over them. "Together. We faced the darkness and reshaped our fate." In that moment, they understood the truth: the rules were not judgments to bind them but guidelines allowing them to navigate the maze of fear. They had rewritten their reality, stepping into a light that revealed the path home. "Let us go," she said, pulling Ethan with her, the sanctuary surrounding them shifting to an open field, threads of golden sun beaming down. As they stumbled back into the light, they found themselves standing in whispers of the oil field, shadows now nothing but remnants of a fearful past. "Mom," Ethan hesitated. As whispers danced in the distance. "They're just echoes now," Jenna reassured, taking a deep breath. "We conquered them. We faced our fears. And we won." They held hands tightly and walked away from the haunted ground, the memories of the oil field pushed into the past, where they belonged. As they reached the edge of the clearing, a new understanding settled between them. While shadows may always linger, the light they had discovered within themselves would forever guide them home. Now, listen up. You need to subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. We want you with us for every thrilling twist. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm, it really helps. And don't forget to flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this wild ending. If you care about your friends, instantly share this video with at least 5 folks who need to hear this epic conclusion. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait even one more second. We're counting on you.